Hello, my bendy pals. It's Vera, your fat flexibility coach, and today we are going to go over stretches to relieve our lower back pain. So when it comes to lower back pain, I want to be super clear that the stretches we're going to do is not a cure-all. When it comes to lower back pain, it can be caused by the bone, nerve, or muscle, or a combination of. We're going to just be focusing on the muscles. So, of course, if you're like me who has chronic back pain, then I would suggest doing this, seeing how you feel after, and potentially making an appointment with a professional afterwards. We're not going to do too many stretches here, but the first half will all be standing, and if you feel comfortable to come down onto your knees, that's what will be happening in the second half. But in the first half, I'll make sure we still go over the same muscle groups that we'll be focusing on in the second half, in case you don't feel comfortable going on your knees today. So roll out your mat, grab some water. When it comes to props, these are all optional, but you may want a chair, blocks, and a strap, but remember, you may actually not need any of these, so just have them nearby just in case. And when you're ready, let's meet on the mat standing. All right, friends, let's get right into it. My feet are a little bit wider than hip width. Soft bend in the knees, hands to my hips. We're going to do our hip circles, pushing our hips forward, squeezing our butt muscles, our glutes, to the side, back, and around. We're going to do this 3 more times in this direction. We want to think of getting those cobwebs off our hips and waking them up. When our hips reach forward, we switch directions. Breathing through it. 2 more times. Find center. Still keeping that soft bend in your knees. Arms are going to come in line with shoulders. I want you to keep this position the entire time. I'm going to start with my left arm. It's going to travel back behind me. Gaze will follow, and I go as far as I feel comfortable, and I gently bring it back. And let's go to the right. We think inhale back. Exhale forward. We're going to do 3 more for each side. Don't let your hands drop here. Keep them in line with your shoulder the entire time so we get that nice thoracic rotation in our upper body. These are our last ones. We can bring our arms down. We're going to do a standing cat-cow, and I'm going to show it to you from the side here. So from here, I'm going to interlace my fingers, push my palms out, drop my chin to my chest, curl my tailbone underneath towards my belly button. Shoulder blades pull away. So I'm finding a nice roundness in my spine. I'm going to push my arms overhead. As I do, I find an arch, so my tailbone reaches back behind me. My chest pulls forward. Let's move back to our cat, where we round. And again, to our cow, where we arch. We're going to do 1 more for each. So bring it down, round through. And bring it up, arch. Wonderful. Bring your arms down. We're going to do a little bit of hip mobility plus a stretch for our psoas in our hip flexor, but it's a bit confusing to explain. So I'm going to show it to you twice, once from the side and once forward, and then I'm going to ask you to join me. So, of course, if we need anything to support us for our balance, you can grab onto your wall, a chair, a random stranger off the street, anything you need to support you here. Otherwise, your hands will come to your hips. I'm going to keep a soft bend in my left leg. It's going to be my supporting leg to start. I'm going to bring my right knee up, foot flex. I want to try and bring my knee up in line with my hip. From here, I bring my foot out to the side, making sure my hips are pointing forward, not to the side. I bring my knee in, so I internally rotate, bring my foot behind me, and I step it back onto the toes. Heel is lifted, soft bend in this front leg still. Opposite arm as the front leg reaches up and over for a side bend. We take a nice big breath here. And we exhale it forward. All right, to show you again, forward now. I'm going to bring my knee up, foot flex, soft bend in this supporting leg. Bring it out to the side. So here my hips are forward, not to the side. When they're to the side, we're going to probably lose our balance, and it's not what we want right now. So back through, internally rotate the knee in, bring it in, step back onto the toes, heel lifted, bring that arm up and side, and take a nice big breath. Step it forward. All right, you ready? We're going to do it 4 times through on this one side and 4 times through on the other. So take your time with it. You bring that knee up, foot flexed, out to the side. Bring it in and back and step it down. Arm comes up, we side bend, take a nice breath. And step it forward. All right, 3 more times. Of course, you can flow through it a bit more if you feel comfortable. Or you can take your time with it, really understanding the movement. Make sure, of course, when you come back in this lunge, your foot is right behind, in line with your hip. It's not crossing or anything weird. Of course, when we do this, make sure your foot is in line with your hip and it's not crossing behind it or out too much. It's in line when you bring it forward too. And then we have one final time, bringing it up, out, in, and back, and we side bend. Perfect. Let's switch to the other side. So we mount the sequence on the other side. Let's see how this side is. Of course, because it's also a bit of a balancing act, one side may be a bit easier to do than the other. When you're ready, knee comes up. Remember, soft bend in the supporting leg. Out, in, and back. And we side bend. Perfect. 3 more times. Let's get it. Remember, trying to bring your knee up as much as you can. Remember, up, to the side, in, back, side bend, inhale. Exhale, step forward. Perfect. We have 1 left. Take your time with it here. Wonderful. Let's do our forward fold flow now. So you may want a chair or blocks depending on your reach when you go into a forward fold. All right, for this forward fold flow, I'm going to show you with blocks, but remember, you can just go straight to the floor or even use a chair or have your blocks at a different setting, whatever works best for your body in the moment. My feet are going to be hip width or a little bit wider, soft bend in the knees, arms come up, nice big inhale. On the exhale, hands come down. I'm going to sit it back into a squat. We're not holding the squat though. We're going to bring our hands forward, fold forward. So we don't have to straighten our knees fully if we don't want to. And our hands are reaching the blocks, floor, or a chair. Take a moment here. Soft bend in the knees. Roll it back up. Think vertebra by vertebra. Your head will come up last. All right, we're going to do 3 more times. The final time, we're going to make it a little bit different. So go at your own pace here. We bring our hands overhead for an inhale. Exhale down to a squat. Really sit that bum back. Forward fold, hands to the floor, blocks or chair. We can straighten our knees or keep a soft bend in it. Take a moment. Slight bend in the knees. Roll it back up slow. Remember, your head will come up last. 2 more times. We inhale up. Exhale the squat. And we fold. Take a bend to roll back up. All right, this final one is going to be a bit different. We start off the same way. It's when we get to the fold that's going to change. So before we get there, I want to point out, I'm going to cue elbow to opposite hand to elbow. This is what I mean. I don't want you looking up when I tell you this. So if you choose to go in this position when I say, that's what it looks like. Okay, we're just holding on to our elbows. Okay, so I want you to relax your neck when we go in. So we inhale it up, same way. We exhale our hands down, find that squat. Our knees are not gonna straighten at all here. Holding on to this bend, we gently fold forward. Here is when we have the option of having our hands opposite hand to elbow. Okay, so we're hugging our elbows with our hands, or we let our hands just gently trace the ground, blocks, or our chair. So I want you to keep looking down here as I talk a little bit. I want you to put all the pressure into your legs. Your legs are doing all the work here. I want you to start releasing your spine. Okay, so think of gravity pulling each vertebra down to the ground, finding space in between. Release your shoulders, release your neck. If you feel comfortable, you can gently sway side to side. You do not have to, though. This is our ragdoll, and I just find it very restorative when I feel my lower back has been crunching or, being too close together, too contracted, and this is a good way to find space in that area. You really have to relax into it, though, to feel the best. You really have to relax into it to feel the best stretch here. We're going to stay down here for a couple more breaths. Gently find stillness if you are moving. Release your hands down to whatever surface. And we're going to slowly roll it up. Go super slow here. All the way to standing. Awesome. All right, so these final 2 standing stretches are a bit of a balancing act. So I will show you the option with a chair and without. So this first one we're going to do is an airplane. So I'm going to turn to the side here. Again, we have a super soft bend in the knee. We never want to lock the knee when we're putting all our weight onto one side. Hands are going to be to my hip. Out like airplane wings, or we're using a chair, which I will show in a moment. So I'm going to bring my hands to my hips, soft bend in the knee. I'm going to hinge at the hips, and my one leg is going to move behind us, hinging with my upper body. And we're going to help open up the bit, which is always good, lower back. So I start hinging. If I stop here, that's fine. I can go all the way to parallel to the ground. I'm going to come up a bit, and we're going to work on internal and external rotation of the hips. So I'm going to open my hips out to the side, and I'm going to bring it in. And we're going to do that about 6 to 8 times on each. So I'm going to show you with a chair, because I'm realizing on that side, my balance is not the greatest. So if you find, like me, you may have to use it on one side and not the other, that's fine. So if we're using the chair, we can have both hands or one hand, do whatever apparatus you're using if it's not a chair, wall, random stranger. So same idea, it's just our hands are planted. So I have a nice little gap between the chair and my foot. Again, soft bend in the knee. I'm going to lift my foot up. I'm still hinging at my hip. Bringing it up. Open my hip out to the side. And then I close it off, squaring it down. So I can kind of think of my toe as a pointer. So my toe is pointing down, and I'm opening it out to the side. and again. So come join me if you haven't yet. Like I said, this does take a bit of balance. If you have to come out and go back into it, it's okay. Let's do 2 more for good measure. We bring that foot down, torso lifts up, good job. And let's do the other side. So remember, you have the options with your arms going into the airplane, which is the hardest, most challenging on your balance, hand to your hips or to a chair or a wall. Remember, soft bend in that one supporting leg, other leg points back. We flex, relax, or point the foot, torso drops down, open the hip, and close it off. So come join me if you haven't yet. We open and we close. Open and close. It's not easy, I know. Just keep breathing. Do as many as you feel comfortable with. Let's do one more. Bring it back, standing. Oh, good job. We have one final standing stretch, and then we're going to come down to the ground. This final stretch is going to be a figure 4, or also called a piriformis stretch. So I'll show you with the chair and without. I'm wearing very slippery pants today, so I'm going to need the chair for some balance also. So if we're doing a classic figure 4, we cross the ankle above our knee and we sit it back. I'm going to have to hold on to my ankle here because of my slippery pants, but we sit it back. Think of our bum pushing back behind us, and we're going to feel the stretch around our glute. And here's that little side view for you. So my bum is really pushing back, and I'm really sitting into it as much as I can. Of course, if we have the balance, we don't need the chair. Now, if we already know crossing and sitting into it is not going to work, we're going to use the chair for a version of that. So I have the chair in front of me here, and I'm going to bring my foot up onto the seat of the chair. My opposite hand is going to come to the base of the chair for some support. From here, my knee is in line with my big toe at all times. So I'm going to start lifting my toes up, and I'm going to roll to the blade of my foot, the pinky side. My knee is going to follow, it opens. So from here, same as the piriformis stretch, we shoot our bum back, we fold our torso forward as much as we feel comfortable. Same as the figure 4, if we want, we can bring our arm to the thigh, never the knee joint itself though, to push it a little bit deeper. All right, so those are your 2 options. Pick your poison, and we're going to do it for about 30 seconds for each side. When you're ready, let's get into it. Just breathing deeply, holding into it. So you can go a little bit deeper every few breaths. You're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly lift up. Bring your foot down wherever it was. Shake it out a bit. We got the other side to go. So if you're using a chair or not, we're going to bring the other leg up. We got about 30-ish seconds for the other side. Let's get into it. If we're doing our figure 4, if you're like me with slidey pants, you can hold on to your ankle. You can also use a strap here if you want. Think of your knee pushing open like we do with the chair version. And we sit our bum back, we fold as much as we feel comfy. We're almost there. We have 10 left. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Gently release. Grab some water. We're going to come down to the ground. All right, so come down to the ground with me. We're going to go on all fours in our tabletop. So hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips. Of course, you can roll up your mat for your wrists or your knees, or put a pillow or blanket underneath. We're going to start here with some cat-cows, our classic in tabletop form. So I like to start with the tailbone, so curl it in towards your belly button. Ooh, I already feel it in my lower back. We're going to round through. Think vertebra by vertebra. Your shoulders are going to pull apart. Chin falls down towards your chest. We hold for a couple breaths. And we start with the tailbone into our cow. So tailbone first drives up to the sky. Belly will start to drop, but still engaged. Our shoulders pull back. Chest is forward. We're looking ahead or up, whichever is more comfortable for us. Take a breath. And we move back to our cat. So again, we start with the tailbone, curl it under, think vertebra by vertebra until you're in your fullest extension where you're nice and rounded. And we move back to our cow. Start with the tailbone. Think someone is pushing each vertebra down one at a time here. So I want you to go on your own breath, on your own time. We're going to do 3 more of each. Remember taking your time and breathing deeply through it. Amazing. Once you're done these, you can gently sit it back, and we're actually going to come on to our bums, onto our backs. So let's meet there. So I'm on my back, knees to the sky, feet planted. We're going to do 3 hip bridges here. So if you would like, you can always have blocks underneath your hips when we go into them. So if you don't feel comfortable rising that high, or you have issues coming down or up, put some blocks, I wish just more than one, underneath your bum to help support you. Even if you don't go all the way or lift much off the blocks at all, that is okay, as long as you find a bit of height here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my hands by my side, and I'm going to think of my lower back pressing into the ground. If I already have blocks, I'm pretending that I'm finding no space between the ground and my back. Another way to think of this is if you curl your tailbone back, you're going to find a lot of space between your lower back and the ground, but we want to curl our tailbone in towards our belly button, pressing it down to the ground. From here, we're going to start squeezing our butt muscles. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Lift your hips off the ground or off the blocks if you feel comfortable. Going as high as you feel good. If your chest puffs up, that is okay. I want you to think of your knees pushing past your ankles. So I want to feel a stretching of the front of the body, specifically around the hip flexor area, the muscles that connect your thighs to your hips, that also connect to your low back. And we're strengthening our glutes, hamstrings, and our back muscles. Take one more breath here. When we come down, I want you to think your tailbone's still tucked. I want you to think vertebra by vertebra, like our cat-cow. So your bum is trying to touch the ground last, so you're going to want to go slow. Perfect. You can take a little breather here. You can rock your knees side to side for a little windsurfer action. And we're back right into it. So the exact same movements as before. We tuck our tailbone in, pressing our low spine into the ground. Start squeezing your butt muscles, lift up. Breathing deeply through it. Again, we're focusing on the lengthening of the front body, strengthening of the back body. See if you can push up a little bit further. We're going to gently, gently roll down. Beautiful. Again, you can windshield wiper it out if you would like. All right, we have one final one ahead of us. So let's get into it. We curl the tailbone up, we lift, we squeeze. Keep squeezing, keep holding. Remember, if you have blocks underneath, see if you can lift a little bit, or just really focus on the engagement. Even if you're not lifting up or you're not lifting high, as long as you feel the engagement in the back body, that's what we want. Let's slowly make it down. All right, from here, still on my back, I'm going to extend my arms out either into a T shape, or if I want an extra little stretch around my chest into my armpits, I bring them into cactus arms. So elbows bend in line with my shoulders, arms are above here. So I can choose which one I want. We can either do this with feet planted or coming into reverse tabletop. I'm going to let my knees stick together and fall to one side. From here, I'm going to look the opposite direction of where my knees are pointing. The hand that is close to my knees can come to the top knee, pulling it in if I would like, but I don't need to. And we're just holding and breathing here. I'm going to slowly lift up either my knees, if my feet were planted the whole time, or the whole shape of my legs back to center. And we're going to go to the other side. So if my feet were planted, they just gently fall, or in reverse tabletop. Gently come back to your center, either using a strap underneath your thighs or just squeezing your knees in, grabbing underneath. I want you to curl your chin to your chest. Knees are nice and tight in as much as you can. We're going to do a little self-massage to come up to our bums. So using our legs for some momentum, We gently bend and straighten to roll ourselves up. We can do that as many times as we need. All right, so we're on our shins. We're actually going to step 1 foot forward and we're going to come into a kneeling lunge. So whatever that looks like for you, obviously I can go fairly deep in my lunge. You do not have to feel you have to go this deep. Of course, we can use blocks here to lift the ground to us because obviously, as you can see, I cannot touch the ground here. Though we're gonna make it a little bit different, so you may not even need those blocks if you don't want them there, but if you want them for support, you can have them. I'm going to try lifting my chest up in line with my hips. Hands can just come gently to my thigh for some balance right now as I talk a little, but you're probably feeling this in the hip flexor area, which is where we want it, but we want to target the psoas, which is the muscle that kind of goes from the inner thigh all the way back against our lumbar spine. So what we're going to do, hands to our hips, opposite hand is this knee, similar to what we did standing, comes overhead, and we side bend. Your body will automatically want to go a little bit deeper into the lunge. If you feel comfortable, you can let it. And we're just breathing deeply, holding as much as we feel comfortable. We're going to bring this top arm down. We're going to shift our weight back, hands again to blocks or the floor on either side of this leg. Now, the leg in front of me is going to be in line with my hips, and it can be straight or it can have a soft bend in it. But either way, we're folding over, okay? So we're just breathing deeply. This is a hamstring stretch. So you're going to feel this in the back of your thighs, and it may be a bit intense depending how deep you fold. So of course, if you're using blocks, you can come up. And if you want more of a challenge, you walk your hands farther, folding deeper, okay? So we're just breathing and holding a little bit longer. Bring both hands on the inside of the leg, sweep it around behind you, back to our starting position. We're going to do that again for the other side. So come on up, step the opposite foot forward, start shifting your hips forward, finding your kneeling lunge. Again, if you want to bring your hands to blocks here, you can. Take a moment to have your body adjust to this position. If you feel good already, walk your torso up, shoulders in line with hips. Hands can be to your thigh to start. So we're just breathing, we're feeling this stretch, getting into it before we move a little bit deeper into that psoas. So we bring one hand to our hip, other hand comes up and over. We bring that arm back up, down. We shift our weight back, hands on either side of the leg. So when it comes to this half split hamstring stretch, notice my back leg is basically at 90 degrees and my legs are both in line with each hip. So this foot is not crossing over or out too much. We can still do that. It just changes the stretch. So not today. And we're just folding and breathing deeply and intentionally. Bring your hands on the inside of that leg and swing it back around. We're going to go into child's pose. So big toes together, knees nice and wide, giving us some space. We walk our hands forwards, Chest lowers, forehead to the ground. Think of rounding your lower spine here. And of course, we breathe deeply. We're going to very slowly lift ourselves back up, and we're going to swing onto our bums, coming into a wide diamond shape. So of course, in this shape, if we want, we can sit on some blocks or a bolster to lift us up. We can change the positioning of our legs to however we see fit. We're just going to end us off with a little bit of circles. They're similar to hip circles, but we're seated, so it's going to feel a little bit different. Hands to the outside of your knees. Bring your chest forward to the side, round back to the other side, and forward. So we are kind of moving through a dynamic cat-cow, but also a little bit of a hip circle. It's a weird one, but just stick with me, catching your breath. And let's switch directions. Finding stillness, we're going to walk our hands down to our ankles as much as we feel comfortable. I want you to round through your spine as you gently fold. Take a nice couple deep breaths here. Slowly release back, sitting upright. And that is the end of our session. I hope you're feeling nice and good in your body, but especially in your lower back. Like I said at the beginning of this video, lower back pain can be from a lot of different things. So if you still feel pain or you feel pain come back in about 20 to 30 minutes, it's a good indicator. You want to write down exactly where you're feeling it and bring that information to a medical professional who can help you in the long term. And that's all for me today. I hope you drink some water, get some rest, and I will see you on the mat soon again.